Before we started broadcasting, we're talking about Personal Manifesto.
Mm-hmm.
Could you delineate that for our listeners who may not be familiar with that term?
Sure. So I think of a personal manifesto as a souped up resume bio summary, like on steroids. A personal manifesto is your statement about who you are, the contribution that you want to make, the value that you add, and what excites and delights you. So it is a statement that weaves together all of who you are. So instead of just kind of a series of data points, which is what a not very well done resume might end up looking like, it's something that comes alive. It's to the work that you all do. It's your story. And a personal manifesto is something that only you can say, because it weaves together all of these different elements. And there are a lot of I am statements in it. So I am a force for change in the world. I believe in artists and arts. I am an advocate for. So I do encourage people when they're designing a personal manifesto to make a lot of these I am statements. They may never see the light of day in terms of anything that you write or publish online, but they have a lot of energy in them.
I know a lot of driven people kind of suffer with this a little bit. So when you're coaching people, how do you help them separate and understand that you have to have a business time and a personal time? Otherwise, if you don't really have any time for yourself at all.
Especially as we are, have coming out of, lockdown over the pandemic, people are contemplating how they're going to be working totally remotely, totally in place, more likely hybrid. Those boundaries that you're referencing become that much more important. So I find that if people are very intentional about it and communicate it to your line of work, if you are setting boundaries, one of the worst things you can do is not tell people what they are, right? So you have to communicate them to the people at home and at work. So my clients know that I don't check email or my phone after 9 p.m. I have an end to that part of the day. Now I stop working maybe a little bit before that, but I might still be checking on things. But they also know that, after a relatively early hour in the morning, they can find me. So that boundary would be useless if I didn't communicate it.
Do you find that leadership now, after this turnover that we've gone through, this collective crisis, do you find that leadership is more receptive to the messages that you send? Do you feel that? Not to say that they didn't listen before, but do you think that there's an uncertainty, there's a shifting of the ground underfoot, and therefore a little bit more of a need to maybe open up perspective and scope as a leader?
One of the things that I have seen among my clients is that they realize that the pace at which they were going was not sustainable for many of them. And so there is an openness and a real interest in doing things differently. I will say there are also some real concerns. And so neither I nor many people I know have all of the answers around what the most effective hybrid cadence, structure can look like. So one of the things that I think my clients and others with whom I speak are open to now is a version of what I just said a couple of minutes ago, which is, let's try this for now. Like, let's think of everything. Let's take sort of an agile design methodology approach and say, let's try this and see how it works. The opportunity here is to not have to solve the problem forever, but to come up with a smart approach for the foreseeable future. And you determine what that is.
Mm-hmm. I just got a new bumper sticker, Paul. Communicate, keep score, and win.
Oh,
there you go. I like it.
Yeah. And keeping score and winning are so related to each other. I was actually coaching a team yesterday, a team of media leaders, and they realized they wanted to be able to capture and communicate more of their wins along the way to the big win. Mm-hmm. And that those little wins, when you communicate them, they make people more motivated. They build confidence honestly. And you don't get to the big win without a bunch of small ones.
What happens when you make a mistake? What happens when you think something is a really good idea as a leader, as a team member, you've declared something really bold, maybe not personally, but within the moment, within the scenario. What's a recovery method that you recommend to
Oh,
people when they find themselves in that position of, "Oop,
right.
okay, adjust"?
First of all, you just own it, and you own it without blame. That means you don't blame yourself and you don't blame other people. I like to challenge myself and my clients to live lives in which they make absolutely no excuses, which doesn't mean you don't make mistakes, but you don't make excuses. You really try to understand why something didn't work. So you own it, you claim it. This didn't work. Step number 2, let's find out. Let's figure out why, right? Because the stupidest thing we can do is make the same mistake again. So it didn't work. Why didn't it work? What is there to learn from it? And how will that inform what we try next?
Hey, Paul, I missed this. John Soon was on and said, the we are winners. Anytime I hear that I'm a winner, it always makes me happy, since this is episode 47. And he said, not small wins, all wins are big.
Nice.
That's great.
Thank you, John.
I will share a construct that I just offered to my CEO client earlier this morning, which was he had written a really beautifully done self-evaluation. The data was in there, the story was in there, whatever. And I said, this is great. Now what I want you to do is I want you to take this and I just want you to construct the entire thing as a series of from to statements, both in terms of what you achieved last year individually and as an institution and what your goals are for this year. So for example, when he was talking about his board of directors, he wants board development. I say, no, what you want to say is we want to go from a board that is good to a board that has diversity, commitment to committee service, and a special engagement plan for each member around raising money. And so if you think about from to in terms of accomplishments and goals, it lets you tell the story is where are we starting? And then where do I want to take us?